London Calling by Bernard Johnson. Paddy had worked on the buildings all his life since he left Mayo in 1974, in search of work and adventure on the streets of London. In the early days he had digs in Kilburn and got casual work each morning by being on the pavements of the Kilburn High Road from 6 a.m. Lines of trucks and vans from Murphy, McAlpine, Duffy and McNicholas would arrive, and ganger men would pick young, strong and eager Irish men, willing and able to toil all day for a cash wage, no questions asked. If a man got the start and proved a tough, reliable worker, he could be kept on for a week, a month, even most of the year if the contract lasted. The ganger man was the link to work continuity, and he was to be obeyed as regards work detail and good progress to meet the schedule. £40 per day was a fair rate then, and if the contract was met or completed ahead of time, a cash bonus would prove a carrot of expectation to be shared among the crew. They worked in all weathers and all seasons. A stout pair of boots and an oilskinned coat was essential for protection, and a sharp eye to watch out for danger of a trench or scaffold collapse, be it on a motorway, tunnel or bridge project. Health and safety regulations were an academic expression hardly heeded a half-century ago. Productivity was paramount, and if there was any slackness, the eagle-eyed gangerman would issue a few choice remarks to urge the crew on, even to grab a shovel himself and lead by example. Payday was Friday evening, and cash envelopes were handed out as the workers were driven back to North London, tired and weary after a week's labour. For some, as they jumped down from the truck, a hot meal, a wash, followed by a few pints was their goal. Paddy and a few mates from the gang would head towards Cricklewood to the Crows for refreshment. If the gangerman joined them, it would be essentially polite to treat him at the bar, to keep him on their side until next week. Paddy was now in his late 20s, single and enjoying his lifestyle. He never had so much earning power since he arrived at Euston Station some 10 years ago with one suitcase and the address of a lodging house given to him by a neighbour from Claremorris. He had endured uncertainty, loneliness and homesickness for the first year. He initially found work in low-paid factory jobs, which barely kept him going, after rent, food and sending home to his widowed mother a small postal order each month. Then he learned that big money was to be made on the lump, using his muscular ability in the fresh air, rather than standing in a dismal warehouse beside an assembly line. The bar was packed with thirsty, noisy construction workers, eager to spend their way through an indulgent weekend of alcohol, women and song. Many were like Paddy, young and fancy-free. Work hard, play hard was the common bondage. The lure of the bulky cash envelope overcame the sensible idea of a permanent job, career prospects and a pension, after a lifetime paying tax and insurance. Paddy was young, but wise enough to follow his instincts of survival and endurance. In a large city with no security of tenure or regular employment, he felt the need to feed and nurture himself, with the knowledge that he had no safety net should he become ill, unemployed, or fall victim to alcohol or drug addiction. In a short 10 years, he had seen the pitfalls of neglect among his peers. Men had been seriously injured on construction sites, some fatally. Alcohol dependence was widespread, and lack of wholesome regular food was an issue. Paddy would share a drink with work colleagues, but would always head home to the digs earlier than most, stopping for essential groceries along the way. The news from Mayo was bleak. Recession and emigration were ongoing concerns. Paddy, as prudence prevailed, was able to send his regular savings supplement back to his ageing mother, no longer by postal order, but by bank gyro transfer. He knew his earning power was dependent on his health, fitness, and endurance. He had a basic education, no skills or qualifications to try for something better. He'd seen men in their late 50s and early 60s, exhausted by years of physical wear and tear, abandoned by employers in favour of young, energetic replacements now flooding the UK from Eastern Europe and beyond. These rejected, experienced, but elderly workers had no other resource to fall back on and became victims of their own circumstance. So, after 20 years of healthy, productive work in London, Paddy packed his things, got the morning train to Holyhead, and returned to his home in Mayo. His mother, in failing health and recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's condition, was to receive his undying care and affection. The cottage on 6 acres needed renovation and modernisation. Paddy had money in the bank, a new purpose in life, and no further need to line the pavement of the Kilburn High Road at 6 a.m. every morning.